Good evening, everyone. We would like to ask everyone to take their seats. We will begin the program shortly. Good evening, all of you. How's everyone doing tonight? Good. Magandang gabi po sa inyong lahat. My name is Henny Espinosa. Of course, I'm with the Filipino channel, and I'm so honored to be among you tonight because tonight is special. Tonight is about celebration. Tonight is about culture. It is about family. It is about friends. It is about community. It is about celebrating history, not only by recognizing the past and the present, but also claiming our future. Welcome to the 17th annual celebration of Phil-Am History Month here at the San Francisco City Hall. Of course, we would like to welcome our guests here tonight. Thank you for coming. And also for those joining us virtually. Now, October is a month full of celebration. Not only are we celebrating Phil-Am History Month, not only are we celebrating the birthday of our Phil-Am labor leader, Larry Itliong, we are also celebrating Latino Heritage Month, the National Coming Out Day, and the Indigenous Peoples Day. Now, while we strive to do well in our respective communities, we understand that we have to have strong relationships with other communities to truly make a difference. And so we celebrate with you, and we also appreciate you celebrating with us. Now, to kick off tonight's celebration, it is my honor to introduce our national anthem performers. Performing the Philippine national anthem, Lupang Hinirang, is Randy Paulos. And also performing the United States Star-Spangled Banner, Rich Gadi.
Bayang magiliw, perlas ng silanganan, alab ng puso, sa dibdib mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, tuyang ka ng magiting, sa manlulupig, di ka pa sisiil, sa dagat at bundok, sa simoy at sa langit mong bughaw, may dilag ang tula at awit sa paglaya minamahal. Ang kislap ng wataw at mo'y tagumpay na nagniningning. Ang bituin at araw niya kailan, pag may di magdidilim. Lupang ng araw ng luwal at di pagsinta, buhay ay langit sa piling mo. Aming ligaya na pag may mga api ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose bright stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight for the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Thank you so much, Rich and Randy. You may be seated. So, Filipino American History Month is celebrated every October of every year. And it was established in 1992 by the Filipino American National Historical Society, or FONS. Now, October was chosen to commemorate the first arrival of Filipinos here in the United States in what is now known as Morro Bay, California. It was on October 18, 1587. Now, our theme for this year is no history, no self. It could also be read as no history, no self, but both certainly ring true for us today. Tonight, we give tribute not only to the people that have paved the way for us to reach our own American dreams, but we also celebrate the people who are making history today. Tonight's event will honor outstanding individuals who are continuing to fight for our visibility and continuing to uplift our community. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our Event Committee Chair and Entertainment Commissioner, the one and only Al Perez.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Filipino American History Month. And welcome to City Hall. I'm so glad that we're back again here and see each other in person. It is my pleasure to introduce someone who needs no introduction. She has always heard our community's voice and understands the critical importance of PhilAm representation. When Mayor London Breed first took office in 2018, one of her first community engagements was to bring a broad coalition of PhilAm leaders to meet with her inside City Hall to talk about how we can support and nurture Filipino representation. It is wonderful to know that our mayor, someone who has experienced all the good as well as the challenges we face as San Franciscans, who embodies hope for the future of our city, sees us, Filipino Americans, and understands that our community and our rich cultural traditions are part of the reason why our city continues to be vibrant and resilient. Mayor Breed understands that as we focus on the recovery of San Francisco, we must focus on the recovery and rejuvenation of our community, which plays such a critical part in the fabric of our neighborhoods. And so it is with deep gratitude and honor that I introduce to you our 45th Mayor of San Francisco, Mayor London Breed.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Perez, and thank you so much for your leadership and your work in making this actual in-person event to celebrate Filipino History Month in our city in person. This is extraordinary. Now, you guys better act like you're happier than that, because it's been like 2 years since we've been able to celebrate. And it has been very challenging. I want to take the opportunity to thank you, Consul General, for being here with us. It's almost like I didn't recognize you, because I think the last time I saw you, I think it was probably 2 years ago in person here in City Hall. We have members of the Board of Supervisors joining us as well, Supervisor Haney and Supervisor Safai. Thank you all so much. And you all should be incredibly proud of this response to the COVID pandemic. Because, yes, it was managed and run by extraordinary women, including Mary Ellen Carroll, who led this effort. But one of the leaders in the Filipino community, Frances Zabora, was also leading this effort around emergency response. We saw the very best in the people of San Francisco. We saw so many folks rise to the occasion. In our essential workforce, people stepped up and were essential workers to help us lead this city out of this global pandemic. And although we still have challenges, we are in a better place. 83% of San Franciscans are fully vaccinated, which is really wonderful. And thank you to our Sheriff, Paul Miyamoto, as well, for being here. He's always hiding in the back somewhere. But today we recognize the deep and rich history of the Filipino community. We often talk about, the history of this community. Many people know, and you can tell your story better than anyone else, but so many folks who immigrated here, and in particular, a lot of Filipino Americans immigrated to the Soma Tenderloin communities, but also places like the Excelsior, and I see Supervisor Safai, and Daly City and other parts of the Bay Area. This community is strong, this community is resilient, and the reason why we have been able to shape and be reminded about the cultural significance has everything to do with you all continuing to come together, to recognize your history, your culture, the pride in that, and to continue to prepare the next generation to carry on that legacy. We often talk about San Francisco as a diverse city, as a diverse place, and we pride ourselves on being diverse. But you are the most important part of that diversity. Our diversity is our strength, and having various communities of various backgrounds and constituencies make a difference. It helps us to learn and it helps us to grow, but we also have to talk about the past and the challenges that exist in order to make sure that we don't repeat the mistakes of the past, that we learn from that we grow from that together as one community, as one San Francisco. So I'm really honored to be here today. I can't wait until we can get rid of these masks so we can really see one another. I know when oftentimes there are a number of events and performances. Is Raquel here somewhere? She's not here, because I don't know if anyone's here sometimes with these masks on. When we're able to celebrate at the Mint, there have been some amazing events held there, some amazing performances, and even though this celebration happens once a year, I want to continue to be a resource. The city wants to continue to be a resource to invest in those various programs and activities that happen in the community, that happen for the community, for the Filipino community. And it is truly great to have you here at City Hall. Looking forward to the performances, the celebrations, and the speeches, and glad to have all of you here. And so, Commissioner Perez, I want to ask you to come forward as you accept the official proclamation from the City and County of San Francisco, declaring it Filipino American History Month in the City and County of San Francisco. Thank you all so much.
Yes, we would like to ask our San Francisco supervisors, Asha Safai, as well as Matt Haney, to join us, as well as our beloved Consul General Neil Ferrer, Daly City Mayor Jocelyn Manalo, Daly City Councilor Rod Daos Magbual, and also San Francisco Sheriff Paul Miyamoto, as well as the members of the host committee and other elected officials and dignitaries. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mayor Breed, for championing our community, for continuing to champion diversity to all our elected officials and dignitaries. Of course, what would a Filipino celebration be without our traditional photo op, right? Okay. All right. So thank you so much. Our next speaker is, of course, none other than our Honorable Consul General Neil Ferrer, who just started his posting here in San Francisco in January 2021. Ladies and gentlemen, Consul General Neil Ferrer.
Thank you very much, Ms. Henny. I am joined this evening by my wife, Miriam, and my colleagues from the Philippine Consulate General in San Francisco. Mayor London Breed of the City and County of San Francisco, other distinguished officials from the Bay Area, Mr. Al Perez, the President of the Filipino American Arts Exposition, our distinguished awardees tonight, members of the Filipino American community, mga kababayan, magandang gabi po. A pleasant evening to everyone. It is an honor to join you this evening, Mayor Breed. Your efforts in combating COVID-19 together with state and federal governments allowed us to gather once again in person at the City Hall to celebrate Filipino American History Month. Madam Mayor, on behalf of the Filipino American community in San Francisco, maraming salamat po. Thank you very much for all the work you do to keep San Francisco safe and recover quickly from the pandemic. Please allow me to also honor our essential workers, especially the Filipino and Filipino American doctors, nurses, healthcare workers, first responders, and economic frontliners for everything that they have done over the course of this pandemic. For everything that you have done over the course of this pandemic that led us to this point of celebrating Filipino American History Month in person tonight. You are the living personification of the Filipino spirit of bayanihan. Maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat. I also wish to express my gratitude to the Filipino American Arts Exposition led by its president, Al Perez, for organizing tonight's celebration. Thank you very much, Al, to you and to your team for your tireless efforts in promoting Filipino culture and the arts in the San Francisco Bay Area amid the challenges brought about by a global pandemic. Every October, we commemorate Filipino American History Month. During this time of the year, we recall the arrival on October 18, 1587, of Filipino sailors in Morro Bay, California, on board the Nuestra Señora de Esperanza, a Manila-built galleon ship as part of the Manila-Acapulco galleon trade. Their arrival in California 434 years ago is considered the first recorded presence of Filipinos in continental United States. This year's Filipino American History Month coincides also with the 75th year since diplomatic relations between the Philippines and the United States were established when the United States gave its recognition of Philippine independence on July 4, 1946. But it is worth noting that an important step towards Philippine independence happened not too far from here, just across Van Ness Avenue, at the Herbst Theater inside the Veterans Building, when future United Nations General Assembly President Carlos P. Romulo signed in June 1945 the UN Charter on behalf of the Philippine Commonwealth Government. Even if it has not yet achieved full independence from the Americans at the time, the Philippines stood proudly alongside 50 sovereign states to become one of the founding members of the United Nations. The San Francisco Hall is beautifully illuminated tonight with the colors of the Philippine national flag. Indeed, San Francisco has embraced Filipino history and culture into its multiracial, multicultural community. The San Francisco Public Library System houses around 4,000 books on Philippine history and literature at its Filipino American Center, and we thank the city government for its continued support to the center. At the opulent Palace Hotel, a historical marker reads, and I quote, "Philippine national hero and martyr Jose Rizal stayed at the Palace Hotel from May 4 to 6, 1888, in the course of his only visit to the United States." In the Soma area, streets were named after Filipino heroes: Lapu-Lapu, Andres Bonifacio, Apolinario Mabini, Melchor Aquino or Tandang Sora, and Jose Rizal. And at the corner of Powell and Market Street, a street marker measures the city's distance in miles from Manila, a sister city of San Francisco for the last 60 years. May the commemoration of Filipino American History Month drive us to ensure that the history and legacy of our forebears will never be forgotten by future generations of Filipinos and Filipino Americans. And may this celebration inspire us to continue building a community where its strength emanates from the unique diversity of its people. I wish to close by quoting from House Resolution number 724, which was introduced at the U.S. Congress last Tuesday, October 19, and co-sponsored by 32 members of the House of Representatives. The resolution recognizes the celebration of Filipino American History Month as a testament to the advancement of Filipino Americans, a time to reflect on and remember the many notable contributions that Filipino Americans have made to the United States, and a time to renew efforts toward the research and examination of history and culture so as to provide an opportunity for all people of the United States to learn more about Filipino Americans and to appreciate the historic contributions of Filipino Americans to the United States. Happy Filipino American History Month. Thank you and mabuhay.
Thank you, Consul General Neil Ferrer. And now we have a special treat for you. Here to perform a poem called Dahil Sayo, or Because of You. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Juniper Dorado, Zoe Dorado, and Alessandra Mohar.
Dahil sa'yo, you,
This mother-tongued rhythm quick to finish the sentence I've been asking for a while now. Wondering if I'm writing an elegy like, if this all starts and ends with you.
Because of you, hundreds of thousands of people are proud to be Pinoy. A series of chills spread to every inch of my barely 5-foot body when I hear your chant. That used to sound foreign to me, that I stuttered, repeating after those who spoke Tagalog since they were 3. You are the immediate response when someone asks me, what's Philam History Month? The celebration of resistance, celebration of claiming your place in this country, and as I take notes to remember your importance to my identity as a Philam, I selfishly ask, is this even my history to claim?
Quote, "The past is alive, a living thing. You own it, owe it. You have a sacred legacy, a birthright," unquote. Dahil sa'yo, there were no sacred legacies, no birthrights given to me. Of the history that I learned in school, there was nothing that was mine. A Taiwa Pinay kid, hands empty. Because how can I own something that I don't know? How can I truly own my sacred birthright when I don't even know what is supposed to be mine?
Dahil sa'yo, a book that I have not finished yet, behind on the first chapter, thought I had enough time and time again, this looking and searching through you, for you, restless. At the back corner of a classroom, watch you backbend since this morning, since these years set foot on dirt, buried this life here, lived here. What does it mean to die here? Again, on the page, breathless, waiting to fall off the precipice of you, watching myself trip on names I do not know, like how they were tucked neatly away, this history that's been bent to fit inside convenience, and how it digs and digs at my roots.
If I could build a time machine, I would. But instead, I search for you in me. Learn to live with the burden that I must do better than those who came before us, and be validated by this country's most prestigious colleges. That I must fulfill the dream that dangled above your head. And I don't want to disappoint you. I do not wish to defy you, but I don't even know what would make you proud. To claim, to own, to belong, because of you I breathe. I wonder, I dream, I live to be what you have pushed me to be. Do you think they think about me wherever they rest, even though I do not know their names? How will I live for them, live for me, live for my future apos?
Dahil sa'yo, I ask, what does it mean to know something? Like, do I belong to this history and does it belong to me? A story I keep writing and rewriting, like, am I supposed to be in this, telling this dahil sa'yo?
Because of you, dahil sa'yo. Do I do it because of you? Did you do it because of me? And will they do it for me just as I've done it for you?
I guess what I mean is, who is this for? This space, room, blank on the page, still learning if I'm supposed to heal with this. How this wound left marks on the paper I don't know how to erase. Can't leave the evidence of myself ugly.
Dahil sa'yo, I craved whiteness. I craved long legs, green eyes, a button nose, Nutella sandwiches with the crusts cut off. I remember scraping mapo tofu and rice out of my lunch to the compost, my lunch left uneaten, not because I wasn't hungry. Dahil sa'yo, I craved whiteness. I don't think I was thinking exactly that, but that's what it was. I craved whiteness, so I shoved down everything else, down a little lower, into a box below the surface.
So I left it there, watched it stay there, forgot it was there.
Dahil sa'yo, I decided to open it up again, this box that was meant for me, given to me.
But maybe it's not that I was given something to own. Maybe it's more like a gift of knowledge was placed in my hands, the power to cherish and hold, the knowledge that I have belongings that my hands should be filled, overflow fingertips and palms through my body, healing forgotten parts of these wounds.
Began to remember this body again, began to stumble and fall through it all again, this outward movement of reaching through the ether, this relentless navigation. Like maybe this is a part of healing. Like maybe I will always be healing and learning how to just be here, present.
Dahil sa'yo, I dare to struggle. I've learned what it means to live in this skin, with these roots that haven't reached their center, that are slowly watered by the tears that unapologetically fall from my face as you sit there telling me to simply breathe.
Dahil sa'yo, Filipino accents remind me of warm hugs, good food, and laughing at your own jokes. Dahil sa'yo, I love loving and I love loving you. Dahil sa'yo, I know that brown women have a certain strength and power that no one else does. I am a brown woman. I have a certain strength and power that no one else does. You taught me that. You never said it straight to my face, but you didn't have to. Dahil sa'yo, I think that you are beautiful. Your brown skin, crinkling almond eyes, and the way you smile. Dahil sa'yo, I think that you are beautiful. Your unstoppability, your grit, your ferociousness, the way you plant your feet. Dahil sa'yo, I love myself because I love you. I see myself in you and I see you in me. Dahil sa'yo, I think that I am beautiful. I think that I am a beautiful, powerful, strong brown woman.
The way I tell this history,
Her story,
Their story.
your story pulsing dahil sa'yo, we breathe it in and out like instinct.
a moment,
This
A
movement
cycle that keeps us alive.
but passes through our lungs.
runs through this blood, this body,
This story we write and claim and create.
To read and own.
to fill in the blanks and write in these margins.
To be continued dahil sa'yo.
Another round of applause for our young poets, Juniper Dorado, Zoe Dorado, and Alessandra Mohar. Dahil sa'yo, because of you. We move on to the next part of our program. It's the Filipino American History Month Community Legacy Awards. Filipinos have been here in the U.S. for so long, from the landing in Morro Bay to the settlement in Louisiana, to the Sacadas in the 1900s, to the Filipino soldiers who fought in World War II, to the professionals that came to the U.S. in the 1960s. Our community continues to grow. I moved to the U.S. in 2000 to take my master's in communication in Atlanta. All of us have our own stories. All of us have our own American dreams. Many of us have struggled. Many of us have succeeded. And then there are those who have made their mark. There are those who have paved the way for the younger generation. There are those that have left lasting legacies. There are those who continue to make an impact, especially in this year when we've been suffering so much because of the pandemic. Tonight, we honor the trailblazers. We honor the essential workers. We honor the student leaders and their educators. To present our first awards, please welcome Jennifer Santa Ana and Raymond Rollan.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Jennifer Santa Ana, and I am the president of the Filipino Bar Association of Northern California. What better way to celebrate No History, No Self than to bring together two change makers in the fight for justice? Bill Tamayo retired last July after 42 years as a community lawyer. Rob Bonta was appointed just this last March as the first Filipino American Attorney General for the state of California. Listen to how their shared histories inspired them to rise in government leadership and remedy wrongs against the Filipino American community and communities at large.
Well, I could probably start since I'm a little older than Rob. I've known Rob's mother, Cynthia Bonta, since the early days of martial law. We met doing work against the Marcos dictatorship here in San Francisco Bay Area. And then when Cynthia and her family moved to Sacramento, I was going to law school at UC Davis and also got a chance to interact with a then rambunctious, full of energy young boy named Robbie, who had a lot of energy. And it was part of our helping Cynthia and other families. We would do childcare and watch the kids. So that's how I met Rob.
No one wanted to babysit me. I was such a handful. So I've had the opportunity to share with those who had the displeasure of babysitting me. Thank you, and my apologies. I've known Bill as long as I can remember. Growing up as a child of a mom, activist mother who was in the movement, pushing back against martial law, protesting the human rights abuses, Ferdinand Marcos dictatorship. I spent a lot of my youth as a boy at rallies and demonstrations and protests and in people's backyards at potlucks with community members. And I always remember Bill being there.
Well, I wanted to ask you, because, I was in public service for 26 years, and you're in a job where the community just has a lot of expectations. The expectations are high. People don't want to be disappointed. But as you know, in government, change doesn't happen overnight. And so how do you approach these quick questions and, demands from the community, and how do you handle those expectations?
I try to lead with my values and I came into the DOJ with the perspective that we should be asking ourselves, what's the right thing to do? What's not, not just what is the way we've been doing it. And sometimes bureaucracy takes a life of its own, and you do things because you've done things that way. And I wanted to take a fresh look and continue with the values and the fights for justice and the commitment to righting wrongs that I had as a legislator. And that means making some changes, doing some things differently.
Yeah, I think just to kind of share some similar views, it's my goal was to make the EEOC relevant, meaningful, and helpful to some of these underserved communities, like farm workers, like immigrant workers, and so forth. And while I think people were open, there was still a little bit of reluctance based on some not being aware of the cultures that they had to serve. We had not enough bilingual services to serve people. And then the challenge of going up against major growers, major companies on behalf of immigrant workers was just something that, while there was expectation in the community, there was not necessarily expectation within my organization. Now, in terms of the Filipino community, though, something's, with lots been said about you being the first Filipino American to be in the office of the Attorney General. I'm the first Asian American to be a regional attorney for the EEOC, first Asian American to be a district director for the EEOC. What do you find is, in terms of your unique role, your background, what can be done particularly for the Filipino community at this time, and particularly for Asian communities?
A couple things. One, your role, you being a first, my role, I being a first, I think it's important to, for Filipino Americans to take their rightful seats at the table in all areas of leadership, whether it be the law or corporate boardrooms or halls of justice or legislative chambers, nonprofit organizations. The list goes on, because until you're the first and you break down a barrier, it's not real to others. It inspires others to believe it's possible. If someone's telling you wait your turn or it's not your time, I say your time is now.
But in our limited time left, Rob, you're going to have a lot of young lawyers, law students wanting to figure out their careers, wanting to do something to help the community. Maybe it's in public service, maybe it's in something else. But they have some doubts. They go, man, change is so hard to make. How do we do this? And what advice would you give them? And I'll share mine too.
I'd say do what you love, because you'll be good at it. It won't feel like you're working, and we need you. We have so many challenges that we're facing, whether it be the rise of hate, or climate crisis, or lack of housing affordability, or the racial justice reckoning that we're in. Wildfires, access to healthcare, attacks on our reproductive freedom and voting rights, and we need everyone in this fight. And attorneys, young attorneys, and young leaders, you can make change now. You are change makers today. You don't need a title. You don't need to be of a certain age or a certain amount of experience. Some of the most powerful movements that we're facing right now, or that we're experiencing right now, are being led by young leaders, whether it be Black Lives Matter or our young climate walkouts in schools by our young leaders, or the students in Parkland and those who joined them, who are marching for our lives to address gun violence. Like, these are young people who are owning their power, who are being the change makers that we need and we deserve in this moment, and who are meeting this moment. So I'd say, if someone's telling you wait your turn or it's not your time, I say your time is now. You are the leaders of tomorrow, but you're the leaders of today. And you're the leaders that we need today in all of these fights to right wrongs and fight for more justice and tackle some of the most pressing challenges that we're facing in our community.
I mean, I might just add, for those of you who want to be involved, it's important to fully understand the history, not only of the Philippines, but in particular Filipino American history. Every lawyer has made a mistake sometime in his or her life, or his or their life, and you just got to take that risk to make it all happen. But also work well with others, respect everybody else, even your opponents. You've got to be collegial. They're not your enemy; they're your opponents in a issue, in a lawsuit. But you have to work with them so that you can try to find a good solution.
Good evening. My name is Raymond Rowland, and I am President-elect of the Filipino Bar Association of Northern California. And I also proudly serve as a Deputy City Attorney for the City and County of San Francisco. If you enjoyed that video, you can watch the full recording on fbank.org on November 19th. Bill and Rob's historic role in public service continues. And in the recent years, we've witnessed many other firsts in the legal profession. In 2017, the Honorable Benjamin Reyes became the first Filipino American judge in the Contra Costa County Superior Court. And in 2018, the Honorable Audra Ibarra became the first Filipina American woman to serve on the Santa Clara County Superior Court. And in 2021, the Honorable Jerry Van Leeuwen became the first Filipino American judge in the Santa Cruz County Superior Court, and the Honorable Renee Reyna became the first Filipina American judge in the San Mateo County Superior Court.
to commemorate Bill Tamayo, his 4 decades of service, and his influence in paving the way for Attorney General Bonta and so many others, we are honored to present you with the Community Legacy Award. Come up here, Bill.
We'd also like to request Mayor London Breed to join us to join our awardee for a photo op. Congratulations again to our awardees, Attorney General Rob Bonta and of course, Bill Tamayo. Congratulations po. And now, let's have some fun fact about our community, so take it away, Rod.
Mic check. Hi everybody, good evening. Magandang gabi sa inyong lahat. My name is Rob Chua. I have the honor of today of presenting you with a new part of our program, which is very apt as we are celebrating our history, no self. And really quickly, first of all, a big shout out to this amazing team of competent professionals who volunteer their time to put together this program. So can we get a round of applause for our volunteers? And when I think of Filipino American history, we have to highlight and uplift both Filipino and American. And our histories are intrinsically tied in so many ways. We have to be critical of the ways in which they're intertwined. But we don't know ourselves unless we know the things that got us here. And it's, I think, one of the most beautiful stories of diaspora that this city's ever seen. I'm a little bit biased, but let's start off with a little bit of trivia, shall we? Okay, so, and if you can't read it, that's okay, I'll read it a couple times. The 1934 Tidings-McDuffie Act, better known as the Philippine Independence Act, restricted immigration of Filipino migrants to how many individuals? A, 50, B, 1,250, C, 5,000, and D, 10,000. I'll repeat the question. The 1934 Tidings-McDuffie Act, better known as the Philippine Independence Act, restricted immigration of Filipino migrants to how many individuals? 50, 1,250, 5,000, or 10,000?
Did you guys get that?
Did you guys get that? Sorry, the sound. What was that? Can I hear you guys scream out? A? I'm hearing a few A's. A? Final answer? Let's roll the answer. It's A. Correct.
Who got it right?
Great job, everybody. I'll be back again with another question for you all in a little bit. Thanks.
Thank you so much for that. All right, let me now call on our next pair of award presenters. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Eleanor Fernandez and Rally Katapang.
One moment. Hi, I'm Eleanor.
Sorry for the wait. Good evening, my name is Rally Katapang, CFO at the San Francisco Arts Commission.
And I'm Eleanor Fernandez, Executive Board Member of Manila Town Heritage Foundation.
We're here to pay homage to the struggles of essential workers of previous generations and recognize their modern-day counterparts who have been instrumental in our COVID-19 response.
As we're about to honor our current essential workers, we would like to remember the ones from the past. In 1965, Filipino farm workers, together with their Mexican counterparts, organized the Delano grape strike, which led to collective bargaining for over 10,000 farm workers by effectively using boycotts, marches, and nonviolent resistance.
Without the struggle of our Manong generation, led by Larry Itliong and Philip Vera Cruz, we would not have the basic privileges at our jobs today, like bargaining for better pay, hours, workplace safety.
Throughout this pandemic, Filipino nurses have been steadfast in their dedication to their patients and communities, taking on difficult and dangerous work to heal and save lives. Across the Bay Area, 17% of nurses are of Filipino descent. And in San Francisco, nearly a quarter of workers at city-owned hospitals, clinics, nursing homes are Filipino. COVID-19 has had an especially devastating toll on Filipino American nurses, making up over 20% of nurses who have died nationwide, and we would like to remember their sacrifice. Let's pause. Here to accept this recognition on behalf of the thousands of Filipino nurses is Learne San Juan of the Philippine Nurses Association of Northern California.
We would also like to honor Filipino workers at the San Francisco Department of Emergency Management. SFDEM has led the city's response to COVID-19, resulting in the lowest COVID death rates among major cities. Approximately 15% of SFDEM employees are Filipinos, serving in all levels of the agency. In particular, Filipinos make up almost 20% of 911 dispatch. In fact, Filipino American dispatchers have been recognized multiple times as San Francisco's 911 Dispatcher of the Year. During the pandemic, SFDEM's emergency managers and 911 dispatchers worked 24/7 to get vital emergency services to San Francisco residents. Here to accept the award on behalf of Filipino employees at SFDEM are Francis Zamora, Chief of Staff for the agency, and Cecile Soto, Assistant Deputy Director for Operations.
Come on up, Learne, Francis, and Cecile.
No? Yes? Can you hear me? All right, perfect. That sounds better. Okay, team, let's queue up another question. Another very appropriate question. I'm sure all of us have essential workers who are our close family and relatives, an important history and legacy that's been around for many, many years. And so here's our question that pertains to that. So the United States has relied on Filipino healthcare workers to mend the staffing gaps in America's healthcare system, especially in times of medical crisis. In 2019, which statistic reflected the number of nurses in the U.S. trained in the Philippines? A, 1 out of 5 registered nurses. B, 3 out of 10 registered nurses. C, 2 out of 7 registered nurses. And D, 1 out of 20. I heard A. Do we have another one? I heard Dr. Rod say all of the above. That might be the best answer, but it ain't one of the reflected questions here. So do we have another guess? I heard C. Okay. The answer is A. 1 out of 5 registered nurses. And also, we have to reflect, there's also a disproportionate number of deaths in Philippine nurses, especially in California. So we mourn their loss, and we also celebrate and uplift the contributions that are not just nurses, but auxiliary staff and all our essential workers from the Filipino community. So thanks again, and we got another question for you coming. Stay tuned.
Thank you, Rav. I would like again to reiterate the sacrifices of our awardees from the Philippine Nurses Association, the SFDEM Division of Emergency Communications, and the COVID-19 Command Center. You guys truly are our superheroes without capes. Mabuhay po kayo. Thank you so much. Let me now call on our next group of award presenters, Francis Talino, Crystal Salvador, and Guada Nobela.
Hello, everyone. My name is Frances Talino. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm coming from Kasamahan at the University of San Francisco.
Hi, everyone. My name is Cristel Salvador. I use pronouns she, her, and I'm also from USF Kasamahan.
Hello, everyone. My name is Guada Nobela, and my pronouns are she and her. I am a CCSF alumni and a current SFSU student.
No history, no self. Our theme for the night is a call back to our roots. I once heard a quote that went, "Our ancestors paved the way so that we could walk the way." This saying always grounds me because it asks me to look back at those who came before me and made it possible for me to dream. These people teach us that history doesn't necessarily have to define us, but that history will repeat itself unless we learn from it. They open up spaces in our community for us to tell our stories. They fight for our visibility, the type of visibility that goes beyond diversity, inclusion.
Because of all these people who came before us, we now have the space and the audacity to ask for more, to demand for an education that is representative of our stories, to empower and uplift each other through times of struggle, to celebrate our wins and honor our past resilience while recognizing that rest is an active form of resistance. Rest is our ancestors' wildest dreams. It is reparation that we are owed. Through their involvement in the community, these people made history into our story, one that we can continue to write for ourselves.
We celebrate 50 years since the first Young Filipino People's Far West Convention, known to be the root of the Filipino American movement and conversations about Philippine American studies. Here, participants in 1971 talked about issues including identity, the anti-martial law movement, and the right to ethnic studies. It's our pleasure to present the Community Legacy Awards, student leaders, and educators.
Northern California Filipinx American Student Alliance serves as a bridge between NorCal Philippine American college organizations and inspires youth involvement. As a board of students across the Bay, they connect college students to the greater Phil-Am community and beyond. With organizations like Kabataan Alliance to push for the Philippine Human Rights Act and fight for the protection of the Lumad schools in the Philippines. On behalf of NC PASA, Jaya Duay Lungsod and Rashid Al-Kurdi are here to receive this award.
Founded by Dr. Allison Tintianco Cubales, Pinay Educational Partnerships has trained more than a generation of transformational educators dedicated to strengthening their Filipino, Filipinx, Filipina students' understanding of self, family, and community. PEP's Corps of Volunteer Teachers have been a part of SFUSD for 2 decades, many of whom have gone on to become professionals and leaders in education from K to 12 and higher education. PEP's impact will continue to be felt for coming generations under the leadership of Drs. Rod and Arlene Daus Magbuwal.
Are we taking photos? Do we keep taking photos? Oh, yeah. Dr. Tianco Cabales' articulation of Pinayism, a radical sisterhood that connects the global, local, and personal stories of Pinay struggle, survival, service, sisterhood, and strength to uplift others, is a cornerstone of Filipinx American Studies. Her work and leadership in SFSU's Asian American Studies department has touched the lives of thousands. Ate Allison will be retiring from PEP this year, and we endeavor to honor her work and legacy. Dr. Allison?
The University of San Francisco has the Yuchenko Filipino Studies program that features a wide variety of classes based in history, sociology, performing arts, and more. Professor Edith Borbon cultivates a strong sense of community through her Filipino classes, fulfilling many students' wishes to connect with culture through language. Professor Edith?
In the year of the department's 50th anniversary, the students at City College of San Francisco fought to keep the tenured position in Philippine Studies, a position vital to the department's growth. Their actions were a reflection of the department's legacy, born out of community action and engagement. As department chair, Dr. Lilian Villaraza endeavors to continue putting students at the forefront and support their development as leaders, organizers, and advocates. Dr. Villaraza?
We'd like to thank all of our student leaders and educators in the community that work so hard to strengthen current and future generations. Let's give everyone a round of applause.
Thank you all so much. Take this mask off here. Truly an inspiring presentation. Thank you guys. And we are approaching here. Let's see if you all were paying attention. We have come to our final question of the evening. And some of you, I don't want you to answer because you might be part of this, but the rest of you, if you were paying attention, perhaps this question will be interesting to you. Celebrating its 50th anniversary for the 2020 to 2021 academic year, this school's Philippine Studies Department is the oldest department of its kind in the world. A, UC Berkeley. B, San Francisco State University. C, UC Santa Cruz. D, City College of San Francisco. And E, University of San Francisco. I'm hearing a resounding D. Do we have anybody that is disagreeing with that? I heard E. It's between D and E? Do we like D? Okay, I heard yes. Let's go with D, and that is correct. City College of San Francisco. Big ups to City College of San Francisco for that incredible achievement. Thank you all very much. That includes our quiz portion of the evening.
Thank you so much, Rob. Again, another round of applause for our last awardees, SFSU Asian American Studies Department, Dr. Alison Tintiangco Cubales, City College of San Francisco Philippine Studies Program, Professor Lilian Villaraza, USF Yuchenko Philippine Studies Program, Professor Edith Borbon, Northern California Filipino American Studies Student Alliance, Jaya Duhay Longsod and Rashid Al-Kurdi, and the Pinoy Pinay Educational Partnership, or PEP, Dr. Rod Daos Magbuwal. Mabuhay po kayo. Congratulations to all our trailblazers, to our essential workers, to our student leaders and their educators. We honor you, we are inspired by you, we are challenged by you. Okay, are you guys ready to see some beautiful and colorful Philippine dances? All right. Well, let me introduce you to Parangal. Parangal means tribute. Parangal creates awareness and advocacy for Philippine indigenous peoples' culture, traditions, and stories through attire, music, and dance. Tonight, they will perform 3 Maguindanaoan-inspired dances, Asig or Asik, Kadtendong, and Sagayan Kalilang. Ladies and gentlemen, Parangal. Another round of applause for Parangal Dance Company. Before we close tonight's program, let us now tune in on a short video presentation wherein we asked Phil-Ams on what Phil-Am History Month means to them.
Hi, my name is Maria Jamaica Speth, and I'm here at the Lone Crow Eatery and Birdhouse Beer Garden, right across Itliong Veracruz Middle School in Union City, California, asking young Filipino Americans what it means to them to be Filipino American. What does it mean for you to be a Filipino American today?
Pride.
Pride.
Very proud.
You know, just being hardworking.
It means being part of a family and supporting one another.
Feels good, you know, because, you know, as a Filipino American, you grew up, you know, with both sides. I grew up in the Philippines and over here. So you grow up, you know, with a sense of like, you know, humbleness growing up, you know, not having much, but then like making do with what you have, you know. So it means a lot to me. It's everything, really.
It means a lot. I mean, I think there's a lot of history here in the United States and being Filipino and being a first generation Filipino here. I feel like there's, you know, just a lot of history.
It means I get to eat good food and have culture here in the United States.
I like that, I like that. When is Filipino American History Month?
In October.
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 It's this month.
All right, cool. So what do you think Filipino Americans have contributed to our society today?
Jabberwockies, Joe Coy.
DJs. DJ Shortcut, DJ Qbert. Yeah, music.
Music, culture.
Yep.
Yeah.
Food.
Food.
For sure.
Lots of food.
Lots of food.
Filipinos are like behind the scenes of a lot of like crazy stuff, like film, fashion, and also music, you know. So they've done a lot.
I mean, in any workforce, and we have the food here, our influences in food, our culture, our hardworking style, the way we help everyone around, and just being friendly, you know.
I think our culture is getting more popular within like food and like style and just like everyone wanting to visit the Philippines being just such a beautiful place. And I think now it's finally getting the recognition it deserves.
I know we've made a mark on the arts, fine arts, technology, sciences, education. Definitely a lot of strength to break barriers, to cross over.
We've contributed a lot. I mean, the fact that there's, you know, this beer garden here, I mean, you get a lot of the diaspora here in California.
Miss Universe, boxing, basketball, whatever.
So as a Filipino American business owner, how does it feel to be a Filipino American today?
Feel super proud, you know, especially for our ancestors, my parents who came from Philippines to come here, work their butts off just to make a living for us to go to school and let us get our passions. So for me, it's like, you know, traditional Filipino, you're like, oh, you're gonna go be a nurse, you're gonna go IT, computer. Luckily, you know, my parents worked hard for us to achieve our dreams and goals. And one of mine is, you know, being a cook and bringing something to the community I grew up in that's different, and bringing my artistry as a chef to Union City, California, and making sure there's something special here.
All right. Before we go, we would like to acknowledge the people who have made this event possible tonight. Our host committee members who put this program together. Of course, SF TV. Thank you, of course, to our generous sponsors, Golden State Warriors, go Dubs. APA Heritage Foundation, 5M Project, the Hinabi Project. Also, many thanks to the community partners who have helped make tonight's event possible as well. And thank you to our host, San Francisco Mayor London Breed. Now, as we wrap up tonight's event, I would like to remind everyone of the importance of this year. Now, we have been through so much, we have struggled so much, But despite all of that, we have come together and we continue to stay strong. We continue to honor our community's incredible history, our achievements, and how we are continuing that work today. Let us continue to honor the legacy of Filipinos in America. Let us preserve our history and make sure it gets passed on. Let us continue to share our stories to inspire the next generation. Thank you to our audience here and of course, those who have joined us virtually. Maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat. Magandang gabi.